We welcome you, sir, and this is Dr.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Uh, can you hear me?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are hearing you,
Excellent. Haha.
and we success to make a live streaming through YouTube. We will share the link after your deliberation, and Dr. Amit will.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And Dr. Amit will moderate the session. Dr. Amit is assistant professor at Delhi School of Arts and Delhi College of Arts and Commerce under Delhi University. And uh,
Okay.
with your permission, we start. We are going to start this session.
Okay.
Uh,
Hello,
Well,
Professor Allen. Welcome to the conference, this two-day international conference organized by Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Banaras Hindu University. Uh, I warmly welcome you to this conference. With your permission, I would like to begin the session with your brief introduction, sir.
okay. We will begin now, and we won't wait until my for another 20 minutes. Instead, we'll begin now.
so we have to wait. If you allow us, then we will do some other.
No, no. If you are ready to
No,
begin now,
we are ready, sir.
that,
We are ready, sir.
okay, then I am happy to begin now. That will give us more time. That
Yes,
is very good.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. We will also get more time to hear your
Yes.
deliberation.
Okay.
Uh, Dr. Amit, for formal introduction of you and
Yeah. Okay.
by Professor, I asked
Uh,
Dr. Kavita Pandey to come and kindly introduce Dr. Amit and Professor Douglas Allen sir to the audience.
Hello, am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are.
Yes, thank you so much for responding. A very good morning to you, sir, as I can make out.
Yes.
Okay, warm welcome and good morning to you on behalf of all my team members on this international seminar on reimagining Gandhi ideology, ethics, and hello.
Yes.
Yes, Ideology, Ethics and Education for Viksit Bharat 2047. Sir, before we actually start the session, I would like to give a brief introduction about you and your work. And it's a privilege that we, as well as it's a privilege for our students that we have you with us. You have,
we have lost the connection, I think.
no, there's some disturbance in between. Sir, please let us know if there is any disturbance over there from our
Okay.
side, if in case
Okay.
there is any kind of interruption. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
So, this is an uh, eminent speaker session, and we have with us Professor Douglas Allen. Professor Douglas Allen is Professor Emeritus of Philosophy at the University of Maine, where he taught for 46 years and twice chaired the department. He is a globally recognized scholar for his contributions in phenomenology of religion, comparative philosophy, and the transformative power of nonviolence, especially as conceived in thought of Mahatma Gandhi, and inspiring him for remaining committed to voice or work for transformative power of nonviolence, both in his scholarship and activism. He has been deeply committed in movements for civil rights, peace, environmental justice, and anti imperialism, garnering national and international recognition. In recent decades, Allen's scholarship has focused on Gandhian philosophy, exploring themes of truth, nonviolence, sustainability, and spiritual resistance in an age of war, terrorism, and ecological crisis. His work, such as Gandhi after 9/11 and the philosophy of Mahatma Gandhi for the 21st century, offer frameworks for ethical engagement in a world of deep division and violence. Additionally, Ellen has published extensively on myth, symbolism, and religion with a recent focus on Gandhian thought, especially nonviolence, truth, and sustainability in the 21st century. He has also served as president of the Society for Asian and Comparative Philosophy and is editor of the Lexington book series Studies in Comparative Philosophy and Religion. His teaching spans across diverse subjects, from Marxist and Indian philosophy to religious studies, myth, and nonviolence, reflecting an enduring passion for bridging thought and action. Even in retirement, he remains active in mentoring, public lecturing, and peace focused educational initiatives. Through lectures, publications, and coordination of the long running Socialist and Marxist Studies series at the University of Maine, Allen continues to be a guiding voice for non-violent resistance and global solidarity. Now, this title has been named Dialogues with Distinction. The session is titled Dialogues with Distinction as it reflects the spirit of meaningful and thought provoking exchange with an eminent scholar of global repute. Douglas Allen's profound insights into Gandhian philosophy and comparative thought embody intellectual depth and moral clarity. His academic contributions on war, nonviolence, Gandhi, Marxism, imperialism, and structural injustice reflect a consistent vision that philosophy must serve truth, compassion, and the transformation of unjust system. This session celebrates his lifelong commitment to truth, nonviolence, and cross cultural understanding. It truly stands as a distinguished dialogue between ideas, values, and humanity. For this session, we have Mr. Amit Kumar, Assistant Professor, Department of English, DCAC, University of Delhi, as moderator. Mr. Amit Kumar works in the area of folk narrative, oral literature, Indian classical literature, British literature, translation studies, Dalit literature, Hindi public sphere, Hindi popular culture. He has many national and international publications to his credit, including translation works like The 11th Sheep, Black Dog, Moon Cow, etc. in Hindi. I welcome you, Mr. Amit Kumar, and I welcome you again, Alan sir. It's a privilege for all of us that you are here with us, sparing your valuable time. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. Over to you, sir.
Okay, namaste, and thank you for the very kind introduction to Professor Diraj Kumar and the other organizers of this significant national seminar. Thank you for bestowing on me the honor of delivering the distinguished keynote lecture on reimagining Gandhi, ideology, ethics, and education for a Viksit Bharat at 2047. I fondly and gratefully remember when Dr. Diraj and his colleagues invited me to deliver the keynote at the webinar on reappraising Gandhism after Gandhi in the 21st century on Gandhi Jayanti, 2nd October 2021. That was 4 years ago and was a very positive and meaningful experience for me. Personally, Benares and Benares Hindu University are very meaningful. I first came to Benares in June of 1963, and I spent a year in Benares and at BHU. I turned 22 after arriving in India. So this was a very youthful and formative experience for me. I was so fortunate. Uh, I was on a special program, Fulbright program at that time, that in which immediately after we graduated as undergraduates from college, 1 week after I graduated from Yale, I was in India, and the and I was so fortunate that I was sent to Benares, Kashi. Uh, we used to always say that Benares, unlike Delhi, Calcutta, Bombay, and so on, Benares, Kashi, the eternal city, would never change. But of course, that was wrong. In Benares, I was so fortunate that I was able to meet regularly with remarkable yogis, pundits, mystics, not only experts on mainly Vedanta, Advaita, but also on Kashmiri Shaivism and so many other topics. And also, Benares at that time was a center of culture, of music, of art, and that we had such remarkable transformative experiences. And we would also go down regularly to the Ganga, to the Ghats for the early morning sunrise or the evening sunset. And we, for example, would observe the funeral processions to Manikanaka God and the cremations at the funeral pyres. And there were so many dramatic experiences that were radically qualitatively different from my modern Western background and orientation. Now, and at BHU, let me mention, I was so fortunate as part of the special Fulbright, I had to teach one upper level, junior, senior level course in the Department of English. And other than that, I was free to do anything I wanted to do. And I was so fortunate because at that time, the Department of Philosophy at BHU, the large department dominated by Vedantists, Advaitins, Shankaracharyans, was the #1 department in all of India. And the head of the department, my mentor, T.R.V. Murthy, was the president of the All India Congress. And I wound up taking postgraduate courses, what we would call PhD in Indian philosophy, which was very important in terms of my life, my career, and my personal values. So let me mention that Benares and BHU are very different. And in terms of, I'd say, reimagining Gandhi, because in 1963, 1964, Gandhi was ubiquitous. I recall every week, for example, I would be at a gathering where the vice chancellor of BHU, who was a retired judge, he would give the same ritualized oration everyone would assemble wearing their Gandhi caps, their homespun Gandhi khadi vest, and the vice chancellor and others would say, in the words of the Mahatma, Bapu, the great father of our nation, and so forth. And then everyone would go back to their everyday existence, which, and you could see even then a lot of hypocrisy, as you can see today. And people would go back to their non Gandhian and often anti Gandhian lives. The, okay. And so everything I have returned to, I've been so fortunate. I've returned to India so many times, probably for a total of 5 years, and not just for a few days or a week for a seminar or a conference, but often for my full sabbaticals, which I've spent at BHU, which I spent in Calcutta at Mani Bhavan, Gandhi's place in Bombay. My last sabbatical, I was a distinguished Gandhian scholar at IIT Bombay. And I lived in 2015, 2016 on the campus of Indian Institute of Technology, Madras. So what I mention this, which is important for my presentation, because every time I returned to India, there were significant differences in India, in Benares, in UP, at BHU, even with regard to how Gandhi was reimagined, understood, and practiced. And in fairness, there were many times in which the atmosphere was extremely anti-Gandhian, and Gandhi was rejected as, for example, as responsible for the partition, for Kashmir, as someone who favored minorities, who was a traitor to the Hindu people. And so I have to keep in mind each time I come back, I have to try to relate to the present contextual situation that we find that is constantly changing and very different today. I might say that my overall experiences in India, and especially at BHU, have been overwhelmingly positive. And often when I would return, the heads of departments, professors, and others would welcome me so warmly. They would say, Professor Allen, this is your home. And I often felt that indeed it was. Now, let's look at the topic that you have for this national seminar. Reimagining Gandhi, Ideology, Ethics, and Education for Viksit Bharat at 2047. Before examining Reimagining Gandhi, let me briefly note how the Indian government has presented its vision for Viksit Bharat, developed India, how India will be transformed into a developed country by 2047, the 100th anniversary of India's independence. The government presents a more developed, a seemingly admirable vision, lofty goals of significant economic growth, a more developed technology, social inclusion, environmental sustainability, a self-reliant and prosperous India. The government presents key aspects for realizing a developed economy, a developed technology, a developed infrastructure, self-reliance, a multifaceted focus on the development of India's youth, achieving social inclusion and social empowerment by overcoming poverty, overcoming the oppression of women and the oppression of the marginalized, and achieving complete equality. The government then lists many proposals for implementation with practical questions of implementation often quantified, as well as the many challenges that must be met in the next 22 years in order to realize the lofty vision of developed Bharat. What I would submit is that the government of India's vision and implementation of developed India at 2047 needs to be contextualized as understood and practiced by different disciplines, different perspectives, different narratives with their different agendas and priorities, and different economic, political, cultural, and other power ideologies, structures, and relations. How does the BJP, the RSS, the various Hindutva forces, and others with dominant political power, how do they interpret and apply Viksit Bharat? How do the billionaires and the other super wealthy interpret and apply the vision of developed India when it comes to their concentration of their wealth and their economic power, class and caste domination, their perspectives and agendas regarding technology, infrastructure, and more? And what do the transformative reforms mean to the power elite? What I would like to submit is that the responses to Viksit Bharat 2047 may be Gandhian, as evident in much of this national seminar. The responses may be non-Gandhian, and often today the responses may be blatantly anti-Gandhian. This is even true in my understanding of those with dominant political and other power in 2025, who often seem to reimagine Gandhi in the most lofty, ideological, ritualized, and practical ways. But what they actually do, in my view, is to exploit the continuing image and appeal of the incredible, exemplary Mahatma, Bapu, the father of the nation, the great martyr who sacrificed his life for India's freedom and independence. And they do this for their anti-Gandhian, violent, immoral, divisive goals, objectives, and policies. What I propose is that in ways similar to what M.K. Gandhi repeatedly did during his lifetime, Gandhi would encourage us to pause, to reflect, and to question what the lofty words, goals, and implementations actually mean for the ruling government and those with economic, political, class, caste, gender, religious, cultural, educational, environmental, and ideological power who are promoting developed India at 2047. This presents us with a most difficult and worthy challenge for those of us who reimagine Gandhi as essential for a truly developed India in 2025 and 2027. Now, when I looked at the title of your national seminar, it actually made me very happy. I am so glad that you are doing this. And I would like to now examine how you frame this seminar on Viksit Bharat today and for 2047 in terms of the key words. Reimagining Gandhi. So this is the first word in the title of your national seminar. And I think there's great importance in the word reimagining. We need to question and avoid the typical rigid Gandhian and anti-Gandhian perspectives that sharply bifurcate, separate, and essentialize Gandhian and anti-Gandhian positions, and that ignore the open-ended, complex, and contradictory dynamics even within each of such essentialized classifications. How do we reimagine Gandhi during his lifetime, 1869 to 1948? How do we reimagine recreates and reconstitutes our understanding of the past, which then dynamically reshapes our present. In addition, how we reimagine Gandhi today in 2025 contextually and dynamically recreates and reconstitutes our future horizons, our visions, our ideals, goals, and practices contributing to developed India and the developed world in 2047. Dialectically, such a present reimagined Gandhi that greatly shapes our future, just as a reimagined future reshapes how we understand ourselves, others, undeveloped and developed India today. So reimagine Gandhi most significantly means for me that we must not imagine and reimagine Gandhi in some typically static, fixed, rigid way. For example, typically, even many Gandhi devotees will tell us the Mahatma provided us with the perfect blueprint, the perfect recipe to solve all of our problems in this world. Right? The problem is that as during his lifetime, we ignore what Gandhi presents to us. If we only followed what Gandhi tells us about Satya, about Ahimsa, and about our other key issues and concerns, we would live in a perfect world. But the problem is Gandhi was too good for this world. The saintly, even deified Gandhi was too good for this world. For me, I've often described some of this as a kind of Gandhian fundamentalism. Just as people look to the Bible, the Quran, and other scriptures, Gandhi's writings, his lessons, are the eternal sacred truths that we in some way are commanded to follow. And when we don't, we have all of this suffering, hatred, um, immorality, and all of the other issues that we find today. I might say I've known so many remarkable Gandhians, some of whom at first were elders who even knew Mahatma Gandhi. Uh, and, uh, and there are many who have provided great insights, exemplary models for me. But I must also say there are many Gandhians, in my experience today, who I think are very conservative, even very reactionary, and they present a Gandhi, a very rigid, dogmatic Gandhi, who mainly is against any kind of birth control, who upholds brahmacharya and sexual relations are only allowed for reproduction, who is most concerned with banning alcohol and other measures, to me, that present a Gandhi today who is largely irrelevant for Viksit Bharat in 2025 and moving towards 2047. So for me, a reimagined Gandhi offers us Gandhi-informed perspectival understandings and practices that are indeed insightful, invaluable, and desperately needed for Viksit Bharat 2025 and Viksit Bharat 2047. But what I'll try to present is some of my selective focus in reimagining a Gandhi that is most valuable for us today. Now, the first term, then after reimagining Gandhi, in your title is ideology. And there are many meanings of ideology. Ideology can be ethical, social, political, epistemological, and or ontological. It can be ideology, can be Gandhian, non-Gandhian, or anti-Gandhian. Ideology provides believers with a set of values and ideas, forming a coherent perspective, worldview, and system of thoughts and practices that explain to believers how society and the world work and what actions we should take to realize the ideological goals. Therefore, it is significant to start reimagining Gandhi with ideology and realize how Gandhi reimagined ideology will provide foundational key negative and positive contributions. Negatively, reimagined Gandhi will allow us to understand how dominant non-Gandhian and especially anti-Gandhian ideology provides a dominant orientation, worldview, perspectives, and practices, a social cohesion under a proposed developed India that is hierarchical, divisive, violent, untruthful, immoral, objectifying and dehumanizing, and unsustainable. Positively, in radically oppositional, resisting, and transformative ways, reimagined Gandhi allows us to understand how a developed, Gandhi-inspired and promoted ideology provides a qualitative paradigm shift with an open-ended, dynamic, Gandhi-informed orientation, worldview, perspective, and practices, a social cohesion under a proposed developed India that is egalitarian, unifying, nonviolent, truthful, ethical, sustainable, upholding the ideological presupposition and belief that what harmoniously unites and unifies us is more essential and real than what now divides us. Ethics. The second key term after ideology in your title is ethics. There is nothing, in my view, more important and challenging for us in reimagining Gandhi than to understand and practice Gandhiji's primary focus on living morally. Gandhi's major concern is that we live ethical lives, virtuous lives, lives with moral character. Reimagining Gandhi during his life in 2025 and for 2047 allows us to understand how dominant power formulations, including many formulations and promoting developed India 2047, express dominant, power-driven, immoral, economic, political, social, cultural, media, and other anti-Gandhian narratives and practices. They uphold immoral values, perspectives, relations, and structures in which we are driven and defined by ego-conditioned desires and ego attachments, defined by greed, divisiveness, oppression, exploitation, domination, social injustice, private property accumulation, status and power, and lack of concern for the well-being of others in need, as expressed in the continuing and increasing communal immoral relations, patriarchal and caste immoral relations, and more. In reimagining Gandhi ethically, I would like to clarify a frequent issue of confusion and misinterpretation on the part of many Gandhian and anti-Gandhian views. No one can doubt that in hundreds of frequently cited passages, Gandhi expresses his belief in absolute, pure, perfect ethics, as well as absolute, pure, perfect ahimsa, satya, religion, and other absolutes. One may then question, how can Gandhi be so absolutely certain about absolute pure ethics? And how can he justify his claim to the Gandhi-informed ethical absolutes, especially since this is challenged and denied by skeptics, by ethical relativists, and even by anti-Gandhi ethical absolutists? Nevertheless, in reimagining Gandhi, we must recognize how pure, perfect ethical absolutes are significant for Gandhi in very open-ended, complex, and contextualized ways. What is often ignored or misinterpreted in reimagining Gandhi ethically is that 90% of Gandhi's ethical focus is on how he lived, his teachings, and the primacy of his practices relating to his and to our relative, impure, imperfect understandings of morality, our moral and immoral relations, and ongoing practices. In Gandhi's focus, he does not dismiss our limited, oftenly blatantly immoral existence as unreal, illusory, or to be unconditionally rejected in terms of his perfect ethics. Gandhi himself struggles with how we are situated in this impermanent relative condition, spatial, temporal, historical, relational world in which we act morally and immorally, sometimes relate to our higher moral nature and our ethical potential, and at other times to our lower brute immoral nature. In my understanding, this is not a weakness in reimagining an imperfect Gandhi today and for the future, but instead it is a tremendous strength that renders reimagining Gandhi ethics and in other ways much more understandable, much more relatable and relevant, and much more significant for our national seminar and for Viksit Bharat. The final term is education. What would reimagining Gandhi reveal to us about education in a dominant anti-Gandhi vision of developed India, constituted by the priorities of what Gandhi labeled modern civilization in Hind Swaraj and other writings? And what does it reveal about education in a qualitatively different Gandhi-informed vision of developed India, grounded in more ethical, nonviolent, truthful, spiritual, empathetic, compassionate, loving, ego-transcending, self-reliant, and self-determining education directed at the well-being, development, and flourishing of all. Because of time limitations, I'll omit important insights from thousands of pages of Gandhi's writings on education, and only briefly note two topics that challenge us to rethink our dominant educational values and priorities. First, as we have noted, the Indian government's vision for Viksit Bharat places great emphasis on youth development. M.K. Gandhi also placed great emphasis on youth and their educational, socialized development, but with a radically different vision of education. As Gandhi maintained, in understanding so significant for reimagining Gandhi in 2025 and for 2047, if the young child acquires language that is hateful, cruel, violent, untruthful, unjust, and oppressive of others, that will shape the youth to experience themselves in others and self-other relations in ways that are inconsistent with a truly developed India. Second, reimagining Gandhi challenges the dominant forms of how we are educated through our social media devices and addictions, our mass media power priorities, through capitalist, corporatized modern objectification and commodification of all of life, including our images and views of ourself, and through the dominant modern priority structures and educational models and views of success, as found in the Indian Institutes of Technology, many sectors of Banaras Hindu University and my University of Maine, and other institutions of higher education. Gandhi, often in complex contextualized ways, challenges us to examine, reflect, and analyze how much of this education is not only complicit, but also an integral part of what is undeveloped India. Gandhi often does not even want to grant this dominant view the status of education. It is really miseducation, and it is very dangerous and destructive because it gives great technological, economic, social, and political power to the miseducated, and is an obstacle that must be understood, resisted, and overcome if we are to move towards a truly developed India. Once again, Gandhi reimagined for us, presents us with difficult, significant, and urgently needed challenges. In presenting on the key terms in the title of this national seminar, I have only briefly commented on what are the key terms in reimagining Gandhi as he expresses throughout the 100 volumes of the collected works of Mahatma Gandhi and in his other writings and practices. It is important to emphasize as essential in Gandhi's holistic, inclusivist, creative approach and interpretation of Satya, truth, being, reality, that all of existence and reality is interconnected, interrelated parts of the meaningful unifying whole. Therefore, in reimagining Gandhi, we could start with Satya, Ahimsa, Swaraj, Sarvodaya, Swadeshi, Satyagraha, the constructive program, or several other key principles and concepts, and then interpret and analyze how they are all interconnected, mutually dependent, and interact and contribute to truly developed India. Gandhi most often emphasizes that his two key foundational principles, values, and concepts are Ahimsa and Satya. Participants in this national seminar will necessarily need to address Satya and Ahimsa in reimagining Gandhi for further Viksit Bharat in 2025 and for 2047. Mahatma Gandhi, of course, is best known as the most influential proponent of Ahimsa. Nothing receives more emphasis in Gandhi's writings, his life, and his legacy for us. As expressed in the Sanskrit, Ahimsa refers to no injury, no harm, no violence. Gandhi does uphold his ideal of absolute Ahimsa, but nonviolence is not some absolute, universal, eternal, decontextualized, metaphysical essence. With his emphasis on engaged, transformational, nonviolent resistance to violence, and its construction of nonviolent alternative values, relations, and structures. Ahimsa for Gandhi, and now for our reimagined Gandhi today, is an active force and is used interchangeably with love force, ethical force, God force, soul force, and truth force. There are many misreadings, misinterpretations, and misapplications of Gandhi's Ahimsa that minimize its significance for developed India in 2025 and for 2047. For example, such misinterpretations, even by some Gandhian devotees, by many non-Gandhian Indians and Western human beings, and especially by diverse anti-Gandhian critics, frequently result in an imagined and reimagined Gandhi who is easily rejected or simply ignored as irrelevant for real India and the modern project of developed India. I hope that participants will use the question, comment, and discussion time after my presentation to raise such issues. So let me conclude this keynote lecture on reimagining Gandhi, ideology, ethics, and education for Viksit Bharat at 2047 by briefly expressing my philosophical reflection on how to approach and apply a Gandhi-informed movement towards developed India in 2047. Reimagining Gandhi provides us a given, a legacy that some of you can consider a gift, or a blessing. As human beings existing in this world of so much violence, hatred, immorality, injustice, alienation, dehumanization, oppression, and exploitation, we are left. It seems that we may be left starting from scratch, completely alone, and with nothing to guide and support us. Reimagine Gandhi provides us with givens that we have not created, a legacy of so much nonviolence, loving kindness, ethical living, justice, democratic egalitarian living, selfless service, means ends for moving toward greater self-realization, freedom and liberation, harmonious relations, and value-based meaningful existence. But such a remarkable reimagining Gandhi given and legacy is not given to us passively to accept, simply to accept or to reject. Reimagine Gandhi is given to us as a catalyst to challenge us, to respond as active subjects, active engaged participants, in order for us to creatively reimagine Gandhi to respond to the legacy of givens as new reconstituted givens that will move us towards what is worthy and deeply needed today for Viksit Bharat, a truly developed India, a truly developed United States of America, and a truly developed world in which we all, human and other living beings, are able to survive, develop, and flourish. So I thank you for your attention, your patience, and I'd like to now open our program up to your questions, comments, views, and lively discussion. Thank you.
Uh, Thank you, Professor Allen, for such a wonderful, erudite, and intellectually stimulating talk, and something which probably even the organizers also would have kept in their mind when they drafted the concept note. And you have so beautifully elucidated each and every component of the concept note, wherein you situated Gandhi and what it is to be reimagining him in the present context of Viksit Bharat, as and you contrasted that what how it is postulated by the government of India and what all the aspects that should be included for a multifaceted development of the country that can achieve a holistic development by following the principles of satya, nishtha, ahimsa, purity, and non-violence. And it should also be remembered, as you have rightly pointed out, that Gandhi believed in preaching and practicing what is just not said, but truly implemented as well. And the way you elucidated explained the concept notes of the seminar, it reminds me that we need to go back to our reading of Gandhi once again and try to reimagine him in not in a very reductive sense, rather in
Mhm.
a more holistic manner. And particularly the way you pointed out that a vision of development of the country, of the world, should be informed by Gandhian principle of life, culture, politics, economics, social justice. That is the only; these are the only components that will boost India's quest for a Viksit Bharat. And one more
Mhm.
point, which is worthy to note here, is not to use ideology in a very negative manner, because when one does that, it tends to become quite limiting and quite static and rigid. And as Gandhi has insisted on following the life of values and virtues, with a lot of complexities of human existence. So reimagining Gandhi ethically, in reimagining Gandhi ethically, it would be pertinent to remember that Gandhi believed and practiced, as you have rightly pointed out, absolute ethics, no compromise on ethics at all. And thank you for reminding us that we have the legacy which we should take as a blessing for the world to be guided on the principles of Gandhi and truly achieve the quest for the Dixit Bharat on the principles as practice implemented, not just boasted as only on the papers. Thank you so much for enlightening
Mhm.
us on that, and it was wonderful to hear you in person, and a particular person who I have been reading through articles and books and reviews. It is so great to see you to
Thank you.
speak, and it was honor to moderate the session. Thank you so much, and the session is open for questions if there are any.
Participants, I encourage you, if you have any question or any query, please come forward and share with us. Yes, please. I think you'll be audible from here.
Hello. Thank you. So there is a general perception whenever we talk about the Gandhian method today that Gandhi is, whenever we talk that Gandhian methods, whether in economics, in polity, in socio aspect, that we generally heard people saying that no, Gandhian principle now are just an um, ideal concept, not the realistic concept in today's world, where we are going in the direction of selfish or tendency like that. So I would like to question: is there any method that we can apply Gandhian methods of Sarvodaya or trusteeship today. Because most people have a conscious mind prepared and accepted that Gandhian methods are just realistic. They have no practical basis. Thank you.
Your name, please.
Vinay Kumar Hind from University of Allahabad.
Thank you, Vinay, for your question. Sir, the question that I had is sort of extension of Vinay Kumar's question. So if you permit us, I can also ask, and then you can reply and respond to both the questions together. Is it okay, sir?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So extending this point, I was also wondering that it was more about method rather than ideology when we talk about Gandhi. And considering today's world, when we are not only dealing with the actual world, but a world of metaverse, where we all are present in a different virtual identity, working in a very different manner. So, what is your opinion, or how would you envision the sort of methods that have been propagated, or the methods that were, that Gandhi worked on, these two parallel universe? So will the same method work for both these universe? And what kind of transformation is required when we are talking about navigating these two totally opposite different world, and yet achieving the goal of sustainable society, which is full of empathy and compassion? Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. So I can give some responses, and then we can open it up to more questions and comments and discussion. Let me say, in terms of the first point uh, that was raised about ideology, and that it should not simply be presented as wholly negative. Um, this brought back many memories to me, and how philosophy and BHU in India changed over the decades. Uh, when I first came to India, uh, often there was a tremendous focus in India and at BHU on Indian philosophy. Philosophy departments were largely defined by a focus on Indian philosophy, most often on Vedanta, especially on Advaita and Shankara Vedanta, and sometimes it was very proud, even chauvinistic. We have the best philosophy, right? The most spiritual, the most moral, the most civilized philosophy. And then what I want to say is this all changed. I think largely under much of the influence of Western colonialism, neo-colonialism, that legacy of imperialism, where decades later, when I would return to India and I would speak to Indian professors, they had no interest in Indian philosophy. They wanted me to talk about Western philosophy. They wanted to come to the West. They wanted to publish in the West. And so the West had a kind of prestige that India had lost, no longer had. And so I would be asked, for example, when you mention negative view of ideology, could I speak about the latest developments, not just in analytic Oxford philosophy, but German philosophy, French philosophy? So, for example, there was such an interest in Louis Althusser and his view that ideology was something completely negative. And this extended also to ethics, because there was a view, often a negative view of ethics. Ethics was unscientific. not rigorous. It was subjective, and something we didn't need ethics. So, in that sense, Gandhi, who talks about the centrality of ethics, was seen as largely irrelevant. So, I want to say again, all of that has changed. And this, I cannot understand why India philosophically changed without understanding how it changed economically, politically, where over the decades, Indians seem to gain much more self confidence that we don't need Western verification, that we, in fact, can produce the most advanced levels of becoming a superpower, economic superpower, military superpower, nuclear superpower. And in fact, this both had positive, but it also has, for in terms of reimagining Gandhi, some very negative aspects. There were very interesting questions asked. Vinit Kumar asked about today, this common view, which I certainly hear all the time, not just in India, but in the West. Well, Gandhi was probably the most admired human being during his lifetime, not only in India, but probably in the entire world, as seen in the tributes by Albert Einstein and so many others, that Gandhi was such a moral, spiritual force, was even politically the most advanced that we can learn from Gandhi. Okay? So there is, and this continues today, I would say, not just in India, where Gandhi remains in terms of the masses, the country, the most admired human being. And in the West, I would say most people I know in the United States who recognize the name of Gandhi, they may never have read or studied Gandhi, but they have this image that he was this great idealist, had a wonderful philosophy, a vision, but this is totally separated, as was said, from the real world in which we're living. There's this bifurcation. In other words, there's a view, well, we wish the world were conform more to what Gandhi hoped for, idealized, but it's not practical. That's not practical. So we have to live in the real India, the real United States, the real world of 2025 that is non-Gandhian and is basically anti-Gandhian. So Gandhi, of course, reimagined Gandhi would not accept that. And Gandhi would talk about, in fact, the ideal, the vision, and the practices must be dynamically, dialectically interconnected. And I can express this in terms of the the follow-up comment that was made about method. So that here Gandhi had this method, whatever that was, because I think that was also very complex, nuanced, contextualized, formulated, reformulated. Gandhi felt it was sometimes successful, and sometimes it was it involved Himalayan blunders. It was so misdirected, misinformed, and misapplied. So for Gandhi, what I would say is this. He would challenge, again, the way the question was developed. Gandhi would say our method, our Gandhian method or approach for reimagining Gandhi needs to be grounded in practice, It's not some abstract, detached, uh, decontextualized, lofty um, method, but in fact, our method has to be grounded. It has to grow out of our understanding of the real, practical, situated world in which we live. Otherwise, it's irrelevant, right? And and ineffective. So Gandhi would say we have to be aware of this spatial, temporal, historical world in which we are living in 2025 in all kinds of, I might say, decentralized ways, what is happening, uh, and in terms of hatred, violence, suffering, oppression, exploitation, injustice, and so much more. And our method has to grow out of that, right? It's an attempt then to theorize, right? To present ideals, ways of responding to the world, the practical world in which we are living, in a kind of open-ended, dynamic, dialectical way. But then we can't detach that theory, that idealized theory that we formulate say, what could be in developed India, but is not now, that gap between our potential and the actual world in which we're living. Once we formulate that important idealized theory as a guide to action, we need to test it in terms of attempting to apply it, to verify it, or to falsify it in terms of new practice, right? Because as Gandhi says, and in his own life, he often miscalculated when it came to communal violence, caste violence, patriarchal violence, even his own satyagrahis, and he often and he says you can learn. Often you can learn more from your errors, from your falsifications, so that then that can enable you to develop your method in terms of new practice, more adequate practice in this dynamic, ongoing way. So that's just some response to some of the very good questions that were raised.
I think we have space for one more question if we can take. We have 10 minutes till left.
Sir, thank you. It is always privilege to hear you and also reading your writing. Uh, I have, sir, one questions regarding regarding my seminar also. Reimagining Gandhi in the era of capitalism, when we entered in the era of late capitalist era, where ideology is manufactured, having a oxymoron forms, having lost its ontological claims, and that second form when ethics loses its civilizational value, and at last education itself have no moral principle and commodified. How to reimagine Gandhi in this late capitalist era, sir? Please give us a path and tell us about the something and your opinion, please, sir.
Yes, well, thank you. That's a big, very important question. Uh, Contextualizing reimagining Gandhi in terms of late capitalism, the world in which we live today. Uh, and I agree with you. For most late capitalists in their corporatized, commodified uh, mode of being, where Gandhi talks about this as in terms of means ends, where morality is completely irrelevant. In fact, occasionally it's used for some negative ideological purposes. But usually I find that our late capitalists also, in terms of the world they exist, Gandhi is completely irrelevant. And at most, he's a minor irritant, but he can usually be ignored. And ethics is completely irrelevant. Ethics is seen as subjective in terms of their world. The point is, how do you maximize your wealth, your power, how you define developed India, developed the United States? How do you make your billions of dollars? How do you maximize your return, your profits? How do you increasingly commodify all of life that can be brought under your capitalist calculus? So I agree, in such a world, Gandhi is really irrelevant, and ethics is really irrelevant. But the point that I believe, in terms of the necessary pushback that we have, and I might say I focused, of course, it's Vic Sat Bharat in your seminar, but of course, my even greater concern is what's happening in the United States of America today, not completely unlike what's happening in India. And I can tell you that it's very alarming what we have with the Donald Trump presidency, the Elon Musk overhaul of everything. I can tell you, for example, something I'm involved in my university and throughout the United States. The largest number of students who come to the United States are from India. And we have well over 1 million students from India, and we have so many postgraduates. We have so many research exchanges. That is all under threat right now. The government in the United States has moved to remove all those protections that students now have that allow them to get their degrees, to do their research projects. So we have millions and millions of people in the United States today in this late capitalism, but it's even at times, it's what resembles fascism, what resembles dictators, what resembles authoritarian rulers who don't even recognize the previous norms of late capitalism and of law, of the Constitution. And so we have millions of people who are afraid that they will be deported, that they will be picked up because of the color of their skin, because they are immigrants, because they don't fit into a certain model that the true United States is white, male, Christian, xenophobic, and more. Okay? So, what I would say, and there's certain things I could say in terms of numerous professors, students, journalists, and others I know, women in India today. I've even had examples of publications in India with wonderful editors, journalists, and others, and they said, could you please not use certain language that the government, the ruling class would find offensive? We don't want to censure you, but and we're having the same thing happening here. So what I would say, Gandhi today, this is why Gandhi reimagine is more relevant and more necessary than ever. Because Gandhi lived under some of the most horrific, depressing, overwhelming times. And the point is, what gives us hope? What gives us resilience? What allows us to push back, to struggle, to unite, to be resilient, to have some hope that in fact we can work to create a true developed India in 2025 and in 2027, and a true developed world in which Gandhi doesn't have all the answers. I want to end by saying that. That's been the focus here. I think Gandhi has a lot of answers. For me, there are also some other formative influences that sometimes are more developed than Gandhi in certain areas. And so, to me, how can we bring them together in complementary ways, in a kind of holistic way that allows us to be more effective in moving towards a world that we all want, in which all human beings, all sentient life can survive, and more than that, in which it can develop and in which it can flourish. So I thank you for your excellent contributions.
Thank you, Professor Allen, for taking up those questions and answering them with such an erudition and compassion. And that compassion is always reflected in your voice. And to my mind, you are a true embodiment of Gandhian principles and true Gandhian. Whether whether we go in the world of politics or geopolitics, or even the idea of ethics, education, and whatever components that this seminar has imagined to answer. I'm sure in their 2 days deliberation, they will take your lecture as a guiding principle and come up with something that might provide certain constructive uh, and principled criticism, as well as constructive feedback to the idea of Dixit Bharat on the basis of the principles or Gandhian principles in actual practice, not just on the words or words on the pages. Thank you so much. I hand over the platform to the organizers.
Thank you, Mr. Amit. Thank you, sir, for your Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and your invaluable contribution in steering the young mind for actually reimagining and reconsidering the rigid boundaries that they had in their mind regarding ideology and principles laid by Gandhi. As very aptly mentioned by you, and as already discussed in sessions that we had in morning, that the principles laid by Gandhi are not just nostalgic relics, but they are urgent correctives that are required to build a sustainable society. I once again thank you for giving your valuable time and sharing the space and time with us. We also feel a sense of incompleteness because it was an online session. We wish that very soon we'll be able to have some, at least one session with you physically, where we can actually interact with you and listen you in person. Your reflections on your own journey and association with India and BHU, and how it has shaped your own thought by actually reimagining Gandhi and breaking the rigid boundaries in context of different junctures in Gandhi's life, as well as now in 2025, was very propelling for us, and I am sure it must have it must have encouraged these young minds to think in a different way and think creatively. I also thank Mr. Amit Kumar for accepting our invitation and joining the session as moderator. Thank you so much, sir. Now, may I have the permission of moderator and sir, your permission also to resume the session for other uh, talks by participants that we have for this technical session.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. And thank you, Professor Allen, for it was privilege to moderate this session, though I feel I lack in moderating this session, particularly a scholar like you. But it was privilege to have you here. Thank you so much. Namaste.
So, shall we resume the technical session?
Mhm.
Sir, do we have your permission to close the meeting?
Yes, yes. I've enjoyed myself so much that I'm reluctant to close the session because it's so invigorating for me. But I want to thank all of you, and I want to wish you well now for the remainder of your national seminar.
Sir, actually, if you have time, we were hesitant to ask. If you have time, then we have few papers present. We have few presenters. They'll be sharing their thoughts and ideas. So if you have time, then definitely we can keep the meeting on.
Okay.
Our next speaker is Vinay Kumar Hind, who will speak on Gandhi's simplicity and ethical tactics for a sustainable Bharat 2047. Over to you, Mr. Vinay Kumar Hind.
Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. My name is Vinay Kumar Hind, as stated by Suraj Bhaiya. I am from University of Allahabad, pursuing my PhD under Dr. Neeraj Kumar Singh, sir. And I will conclude my, because due to the time constraint, I will complete my article just in 5 minutes. Uh, and thank you, sir, for your, Douglas, sir, for your time and your vision on Gandhian aspect. बहुत सारी बातें, I will choose my Hindi medium language for my presentation. कई सारी बातें आर के पांडे सर ने और डगलस सर ने भी कई सारी चीजें हमारे साथ शेयर की, एंड ऑल आर वैल्यूएबल एंड इम्पोर्टेंट. The question raised that is Gandhi relevant today or not? This is a bigger question. And economic aspect, Gandhian economy, that is sometimes referred as non-violent economy, as J.C. Kumarappa has mentioned, a close associate of Gandhi, wrote 1948 Economic of Permanence, where he had mentioned that Gandhian economy was not just an economy, it was non-violent economy. Gandhi believed that any kind of concept, whether it is capitalism, socialism, all have some kind of violence inbuilt, whether we are doing it against our labor, whether we are doing it against our resources or whatever. आज के समय में मैं हमेशा अपनी बातों को शुरू करने से पहले मैम एक बातें कहता हूं कि गांधी गांधी एवरीवेयर. One can accept Gandhi, one can reject Gandhi, but one cannot afford to ignore Gandhi at all. Why? Because we have witnessed COVID recently. We have witnessed the trajectory of Uttarakhand environmental issues, how the houses has been destroyed by the nature, because we have since the origin of the earth we have depleting our resources. And here the topic Gandhi's economic of simplicity and ethical tactics, a ropeway and a hope for sustainable Bharat. I think this title itself, some way, it is a solution, and the solution is simplicity. We are here in this seminar to rethink, reimagine Gandhi, and this paper is trying to reimagine Gandhi in today's context, जहाँ पे हमारे ऊपर अभी रिसेंटली सर ने भी बात किया, यूएस रसिया यूक्रेन वॉर, यूएस इंडिया टैरिफ वॉर. तो ये टैरिफ वॉर, ये रिपारेशन, वॉर रिपारेशन, ये कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट आफ्टर कैपिटलिज्म और बिफोर कैपिटलिज्म ऑल्सो, ये सारे टर्म्स लाए गए। उसी में आर के पांडे सर ने शुरुआती टेक्निकल सेशन में भी उन्होंने अपने इंट्रोडक्शन में कहा कि ओवर कंज्यूमरिज्म, ये सारे ऐसे टर्म्स हैं जो आफ्टर 1940s काफी वाइडली यूज किए गए। और गांधी न्यू दैट अगर इन सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स को अगर हमने कैरी फॉरवर्ड किया तो ये हमारे ट्रेडिशन, हमारी कल्चर, हमारी ओवरऑल जो एक नेशन की जो एक आइडेंटिटी है, जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, उसको तोड़ने का काम करेगा। इकोनॉमिक्स किसी भी कॉन्सेप्ट को, किसी भी पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी, सोशल आइडियोलॉजी को कैरी फॉरवर्ड करने के लिए इकोनॉमिक उसका बैकबोन होता है। जब भी अगर हम किसी को भी अगर हम देखते हैं, किसी भी स्टेट को, चाहे वो नेशन हो, यूएस हो, रसिया हो, इंडिया हो, अगर वो अपने स्टेट पे इंटरनेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म पे खड़ा हो सकता है तो उसके पीछे कहीं ना कहीं इकोनॉमिक बैकबोन बहुत जरूरी है। जहां तक कैपिटलिज्म की बात है, जब हम ड्यूरिंग द इंडिपेंडेंस मूवमेंट वी आर द कल्प्रिट ऑफ कैपिटलिज्म एज वेल, क्योंकि पूंजीवाद की जिस तरह से जड़ें हमारे यहाँ फैली, उन्होंने और भी हमें स्लेव बनाने को, स्लेवरी की ओर ढकेला। बाद में कई सारे गांधीयन स्कॉलर्स, गांधीयन एसोसिएट्स, खुद गांधी ने भी कई सारे एक, आज हमारे ऊपर अमेरिका टैरिफ लगाता है, आज रसिया यूक्रेन के ऊपर टैरिफ लगाता है। ये टैरिफ, ये टैक्सेशन, ये जीएसटी, ये सेस, ये इरिस्पेक्टिव, मैं जितनी बातें कह रहा हूँ, इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ पॉलिटिकल आइडियोलॉजी, इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ एनी काइंड ऑफ कॉन्सेप्ट इन द माइंड, दिस इज जस्ट द कॉमन थिंग। जब हम किसी टैक्स की बात करते हैं, किसी टैरिफ की बात करते हैं, तो हम अपने आप को भी स्वावलंबन बनाने की बात करनी होती है। वहां पे हमने 2047 विकसित भारत की बात की, जिसमें इनबिल्ट है कि हम अपने कंट्री को, हम अपने नेशन को, चाहे वो लेबर रूप में हो, लेबर्स के रूप में, चाहे रिसोर्सेज के रूप में, चाहे कैपिटलिस्ट के रूप में, हम हर रूप में, वुमेन एजुकेशन, वुमेन डेवलपमेंट, एजुकेशन इनबिल्ट, हम इन सारे एस्पेक्ट पे बात करते हैं। मेक इन इंडिया, हम इन सारी चीजों पे बात करते हैं ताकि हम 2047 एक डेवलप्ड इंडिया बन सके। पर क्वेश्चन है कि हम आज तक डेवलप्ड इंडिया क्यों नहीं बन पाए? हमें 100 साल का इंतजार क्यों करना है कि हम 100 साल होगा देन वी विल कॉल आवरसेल्फ अ विकसित भारत? वी कैन बिकम अ विकसित भारत टुडे, बट जैसे सर ने कहा प्रैक्टिस, मेरे सवाल का जवाब जैसे सर ने कहा प्रैक्टिस, रियलिटी गांधीयन इकोनॉमी हो सकता है या गांधीयन फिलॉसफी, क्योंकि कई सारी बातें मैम हो चुकी हैं, सर्वोदय, ट्रस्टीशिप, मैं उन बातों को रिपीट करके समय नहीं बर्बाद करना चाहता। ये सारे कॉन्सेप्ट तभी सक्षम हो पाएंगे जब हम प्रैक्टिस में उसे लाएंगे। हमें कोई जरूरत नहीं है ग्लोबल ऑर्डर की तरह, हमें एक ग्लोबल, कि अमेरिका की तरह हमें एक ग्लोबल ऑर्डर बनाने की। there is no need to create a global order, as Gandhi insisted. We need a local order. Local order, that means a village economy. Local order, that means a sustainable economy. Local order, that means a economy meant by support of each other. हम हमारे सामने एक रिसेंट त्रासदी हुई, पंजाब फ्लड। हमने देखा जब सारी व्यवस्थाएं फेल हो गई स्टेट की, जब सारी मशीनरी फेल हो गई, देयर द ह्यूमन रिसोर्स, द यूनिटी ऑफ सोसाइटी एज अ टूल हमने इस्तेमाल किया। और हमने देखे, हमने एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स देखे, हमने प्रचार देखा, हमने यूट्यूब देखा, हमने न्यूज़ देखा, हमने देखा कि पंजाब में किस तरह से लोगों ने एक साथ आकर के इतनी बड़ी त्रासदी को अपनाया, इतनी बड़ी त्रासदी को फेस किया। हमने ये भी देखा कि इकोनॉमिक्स बाधा नहीं होती है। इकोनॉमिक बाधा तभी बन सकती है जब हमारे अंदर इच्छा शक्ति, इथिक्स, मोरालिटी खत्म हो जाए। हमारे अंदर इथिक्स है, इसलिए हमने देखा कि हमने कोविड सर्वाइव किया। हमारे अंदर इथिक्स है, इसलिए हमने देखा कि हमने फ्लड, पंजाब में फ्लड हमने सस्टेन किया। इकोनॉमिक्स ये पेपर का टाइटल है, बट इसमें बहुत सारी बातें इनबिल्ट हैं, उसमें कई सारी बातें हो चुकी हैं। और मैं इन्हीं बातों के साथ अपनी बातों को बहुत शॉर्ट में प्रिसाइज करूंगा, कंक्लूड करूंगा सर, कि गांधीयन इकोनॉमिक्स, गांधी ने स्वयं भी कहा था कि अगर हम वेस्टर्न मॉडर्न को अपनाएंगे, हिंद स्वराज में 1924 में उन्होंने कहा कि अगर हम जितना ही वेस्टर्न मॉडर्न अपनाएंगे, द वर्ल्ड वुड लाइक अ बेयर लोकस, वो पूरी तरह से खत्म हो जाएगा। आज हमारे सामने इतनी नेचुरल फिनोमेनास हैं, जैसे कि यूनेरो इको स्कॉलर रहे, उन्होंने लिखा कि हमारे पास चाहे कितने भी बड़े ग्लोबल ऑर्डर वी कैन क्रिएट बेस्ड ऑन इकोनॉमी, वेदर इट इज कैपिटलिस्ट इकोनॉमी, मार्क्सिस्ट इकोनॉमी और व्हाटएवर, हम कितनी भी चीजों में अपने आप को स्ट्रेंथन कर लें इकोनॉमिक में, पर जब भी नेचुरल कैलेमिटी आएगी, कोई ऐसी चीज जो हमारे हाथों से बाहर है, हम वहां नतमस्तक हो जाएंगे। इसलिए मुझे लगता है कि ये बात आज के समय में सही है, और हमें, जैसा कि सर ने कहा, प्रैक्टिस, गांधीयन इकोनॉमिक्स पे बात करने से ज़्यादा हमें प्रैक्टिस की आवश्यकता है कि हम जब भी कहीं जाएं, हमारे घर में, जैसे बेसिक एग्जांपल, अगर हमारे घर में भी कोई लेबर अगर घर बना रहे हैं, घर का कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है, हमारे यहाँ लेबर्स आते हैं काम करने के लिए, हम उनसे चाय नहीं पूछते, यहाँ हमारी मोरालिटी एथिक्स खत्म हो जाती है। तो इकोनॉमिक्स सिर्फ आपने उन्हें 400 रुपये दिहाड़ी शाम में दे दिया, इससे नहीं होगा। हमने उनसे एथिक्स मोरली के बेसिस पे हमने उनसे क्या पूछा, क्या उनसे दिन भर की उनकी थकान के बारे में, क्या उनसे चाय पानी हमने पूछा कि नहीं, ये भी एक ग्राउंडेड एथिक्स है जो कि हमारे बीच में कहीं ना कहीं खत्म होती जा रही है। जैसा कि मैंने सर को शुरू में बताया, 2 मिनट की रील कल्चर आज के समय में मेरे हाइपोथेसिस का भी हिस्सा है, 2 मिनट रील कल्चर इन दिस एरा ऑफ डिजिटल एज, जहां 2 मिनट की रील कल्चर में हम हर चीज स्वाइप करते जा रहे हैं, वहां पे जरूरत है रुक करके, जैसा कि शुरू में ही आर के पांडे सर ने कहा कि गांधी जी ने कहा था कि अगर मैंने 2020 में कोई बातें कही और 2040 में सेम टॉपिक पे मैंने कोई बातें कही, तो 1940 में जो मैंने बातें कही उनको आप तवज्जो दें, क्योंकि उन 20 सालों में जो सोसाइटी चेंज हुई उस हिसाब से मेरी पर्सपेक्टिव भी चेंज होगी। तो वैसे ही अगर आज के रील कल्चर में अगर हमें उस पर्सपेक्टिव को, उस नैरेटिव को, विकसित भारत को एज अ सस्टेनेबल वे, क्योंकि विकसित भारत 1947 बने ना बने हम सेलिब्रेट तो कर लेंगे, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है that we are going to celebrate 2047 as विकसित भारत, बट इन अ सस्टेनेबल वे हमें जरूरत है कि रील कल्चर से बाहर निकल के गांधीयन फिलॉसफी को प्रैक्टिस में लाने की, और यही एज अ सॉल्यूशन भी है। और पॉलिसी मेकिंग पे जितना मैंने अभी तक स्टडी किया, मेरा एक ही एज अ पॉलिसी बेसिस गवर्नमेंट या एनजीओज या नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स या स्टेट एक्टर्स से मेरी आर्टिकल एक ही रिकमेंड करती है कि हमें वेस्टर्न का जो लोकतंत्र नहीं चाहिए, हमें वेस्ट की कोई चीजें नहीं चाहिए। हमें वेस्ट से अगर कोई चीजें ली तो हमें उसे अपने एरिया में, हमें अपने जियो पॉलिटिकल सोशियो इकोनॉमिक एस्पेक्ट में उसे कैसे हम लागू कर सकते हैं, हमें उस पर विचार करना चाहिए, ना कि एज इट इज हमें किसी चीज वेस्ट से कोई भी चीज ले लेनी चाहिए। थैंक यू फॉर ऑल।
Thank you, Vinay Kumar, for your presentation on Gandhi's simplicity and ethical tactics for a sustainable Bharat 2047. With your permission, sir, the session is concluded and I would like to adjourn the meeting. Do we have your permission, sir?
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Namaskar.